Yo, guys, I hope you're well. So, guys, I'm not certain if many of you know, but today there was a vote of no confidence, a trust vote in the leader of the EU president, in Ursula von der Leyen. And this no vote was tabled on the back of Pfizer-gate. So basically, in the COVID period, Ursula von der Leyen had many interactions with Pfizer for a COVID vaccine, but she has refused to allow all of her text messages between herself and Pfizer to come to the fore. So because of that, there are a lot of angry people who want to know what happened in those messages, what was her link with Pfizer, and what actually happened during COVID. So guys, this is around COVID and the vaccines, I should have said. Hopefully I said the vaccines, but if I haven't, I meant the vaccines. So guys, today we have a speech from Eva Vlaardingerbroek. Hope I pronounced that correctly. And she's from Holland, and her interest is in the Dutch and the farmers. So this speech was delivered, I believe, on Monday, or it could have been a couple of days back, I'm not sure. But this speech was delivered by Eva Vlaardingerbroek, and it's about 8 minutes long. I'm not going to play all 8 minutes of it. Don't want to. But I will put a link down here in the description so that you guys can see the speech for yourself. But it's quite an eye-opening speech, and apparently it's been seen by quite a lot of people all around Europe. So I'm just going to access it, and we're going to hear Eva Vlaardingerbroek's viral speech against Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Union, who I like to call the mafia.
The illusion of democracy is very much kept alive. We are being ruled by leaders who claim that they are democratic leaders, and
we are being ruled by leaders who claim they are democratic leaders. And the illusion of democracy is being kept alive by these very same people.
However, the illusion of democracy is very much kept alive. We are being ruled by leaders who claim that they are democratic leaders, and they force us to play along with their games. In fact, many people do so happily. And that is what makes modern-day tyranny arguably worse than what we see in the history books. In the DDR, you at least knew that the government was listening in on you. In the USSR, you at least knew that going against the government could end you in the gulags. In Mao Zedong's China, going against the government was something that surely would have you met with violence. But make no mistake, being a dissident now is just as dangerous as it was back then.
Absolutely true. So the three examples was in the DDR, was in the USSR, and was in China. So back in the days, if you went against the government, you spoke up, you used your freedom of speech disappeared along with yourself. And it looks like they're trying to do the same thing to us today.
Our regime uses pretty words to hide their intentions, but they pervert and invert our definitions all the time.
They pervert and invert our definitions all the time. I keep telling people, this is a topsy-turvy world we live in. So what they say with one side of their mouth, they mean something totally different out the other side of their mouth. So this lady, Eva Vlaardingerbroek, absolutely hits the nail right on their head. Absolutely.
Our regime uses pretty words to hide their intentions, but they pervert and invert our definitions all the time. They say that to maintain peace in Europe, we need to go to war with Russia.
To maintain peace in Europe, we need to go to war with Russia. What was that, George Orwell? 1984. What was the commission, or whatever it's called, the Peace and Love Commission, wasn't it something like that? From Arthur Blair, George Orwell, 1984. If you haven't read it, you should go and read it, guys. I like that. I want to hear that again.
Their intentions, but they pervert and invert our definitions all the time. They say that to maintain peace in Europe, we need to go to war with Russia. They say that to protect democracy, we have to ban right-wing parties. And they say that to safeguard freedom of speech, they need to censor disinformation.
To safeguard freedom of speech, they need to censor disinformation. Really? Most people are able to filter out what is right and what is wrong. Most people can self-censor, and their radar is good enough to find out what is real and what isn't. We don't need this nanny state to interfere on our behalf.
They say that to protect democracy, we have to ban right-wing parties. And they say that to safeguard freedom of speech, they need to censor disinformation. Just like in Orwell's 1984.
What did I say? 1984. They did have there were 4 commissions, weren't there? Or 4 bodies. I can't remember because I haven't read it for a while. But I remember reading it and thinking, how can war be attributed to peace? I know you have Tolstoy's War and Peace, blah, 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 but they're 2 ends of the different spectrum, in my opinion.
Censor disinformation. Just like in Orwell's 1984, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength.
This is it, yeah. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength.
For war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength.
Wow.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we can find the embodiment of that regime in one person in particular. The worst leader of them all, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Von der Leyen. Boo.
America got 4 more years of Trump. We, here in Europe, got 5 more years of Ursula von der Leyen. The thing is, though, that no one ever voted for Ursula von der Leyen. No one ever voted for her, yet she is one of the most powerful people in Europe, and she's implementing some of the most destructive policies that our continent has ever seen. Just to give you a few examples, she's the one who introduced the Green Deal, crippling our economy. She's the one who introduced the Migration Pact, replacing.
I'm going to wheel that back, guys. The Green Deal, the Migration Pact, it's all coming up. And I've heard lots of people from Germany, before she became the president of the EU, not happy with her, called her corrupt.
Continent has ever seen. Just to give you a few examples, she's the one who introduced the Green Deal, crippling our economy. She's the one who introduced the Migration Pact, replacing our native population. And now she's attacking our national sovereignty even further by introducing the Rearm Europe program.
Rearm Europe program, yeah.
Euro Defense Fund, mostly used for Ukraine, a country that isn't and should never be part of the European Union.
So Eva Vlaardingerbroek has just said that the Ukraine should never, ever be anything part of the European Union, because this is just like a red rag to a bull. The moment that Ukraine is the moment where we all go to war and we all perish.
A country that isn't and should never be part of the European Union. And last but not least, when are we ever going to see those text messages in which she closed a 35 billion euro deal with Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer?
Pfizer-gate, all the text messages. Does that remind you of anything? Remind you of, was it Hillary Clinton and her emails? Did she have something like 33 million emails? Really? Really?
€5 billion deal with Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer. As I told you earlier, Ursula von der Leyen and the Eurocrats are most likely the ones reading my private messages, those of a private citizen. When are we going to see hers, those of a public servant spending billions and billions of our taxpayers' money? Ursula von der Leyen thinks she is untouchable. She thinks she is above the law. But we are here today to remind her that she is not. So allow me to take this moment, look straight into the camera, and speak truth to power for a moment. Mrs. von der Leyen, do you think about what you have done? Do you think about the people who suffer because of your policies? Do you think about the people who have died because of a vaccine that you pushed on them, that you bought behind closed doors? Mrs. von der Leyen, do you ever think about the cries of the mothers who cry at night because their children were raped or murdered by immigrants that you let in?
We have the problem here in the UK.
Do you ever think about the farmers whose entire life's work were destroyed because you pushed a communist agenda? Do you ever think about the people who cannot afford food for their children because you implemented policies that are crippling our economy while you were able to send your 7 children off to the most expensive schools in Europe? Do you ever think about that? I bet you don't. I bet you don't, because none of this is happening in your backyard. But, ladies and gentlemen, I do. I think about those people. I think about them. I will not forget them. So let me promise you right here, right now, I will not stop fighting for them. I will not stop fighting for the truth, and I will not stop fighting for my people. The time of zero accountability will come to an end, and I will promise you, we will make Europe great again.
Make Europe great again. Get rid of the EU mafia.
Brilliant. It was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
So guys, that was Eva Vlaardingerbroek, and she was telling it as it is. Ursula von der Leyen is an unelected representative, an unelected leader. So she doesn't even face election. She's selected, not elected. She's selected. And there's lots of skeletons in the closet there that need to be examined. So this incident with Pfizer, this incident with COVID, the lockdown, the vaccines, at the moment, we don't know all the ins and outs because she's refused to release the text messages. So the vote was held earlier today, and I can tell you the result. Apparently, in favor of the trust vote, or the vote of no confidence in Ursula von der Leyen, 175. 360 voted against and 18 abstained. So, and it says here the remaining MEPs did not vote. I'm not sure how many remaining MEPs there were. But that means Ursula von der Leyen has survived that vote of no confidence, that trust vote against her. And yeah, she's free to carry on doing what she normally does. But what some people were saying was that, so sorry, I was just reading this, sorry guys. So what some people were saying was that Ursula von der Leyen could no longer be trusted to uphold the principles of transparency and accountability, but particularly when she refused to release all of the texts between her and Pfizer. And they said that the principles of transparency and accountability are good governance, which is essential to a democratic union. So Ursula von der Leyen has survived that, but people are now saying she's starting to look a little bit damaged. So what Eva Vlaardingerbroek said was so correct, and she evoked feelings of Eric Arthur Blair, George Orwell, 1984, when everything is inverted, war is peace. And they said all of the other elements, which unfortunately I've forgotten, so I need to get my book out and start reading that again. But you can see how this looks. Not a good look for von der Leyen, not a good look at all, not a good look for the EU. So guys, let me know down here in the comment section what you think about that. Do you agree with the sentiment and the words of Eva Vlaardingerbroek? Or are you on the side of Ursula von der Leyen? I've been saying for a very long time, the EU, in my opinion, is run as a mafia. They run roughshod with their jackboots over everyone. And they say you have to do it our way. There's no other way. And if you don't go our way, then we will just ride over you. I don't think that's democratic. I don't think that's right. And I don't think that we should lie down and be run roughshod over. So guys, there you have it. What are your thoughts? And in the meantime, make sure you look after yourselves, you look after each other. And guys, I will see you at the next one.